In construction and real estate today, when it comes to developing new properties, sometimes the new owners scrape and start over. Sometimes they remodel. And when it comes to one particular job in Boston, boy, did they ever. Ron Zwerin is here to tell us more about that story. Hi, Ron.
Hi, Allison. You know, Allison, it was really a race against the clock as the owners of the New Liberty Hotel got ready to open their doors. But transforming this building was no easy task, considering its long and storied history. Boston, Massachusetts. It's one of the oldest and most famous cities in America, or anywhere in the world for that matter. Visitors are greeted by a landmark waterfront skyline. They're greeted by places like Faneuil Hall, where the echoes of our forefathers resound. And from inside the garden, where echoes of a different kind hang from the rafters. You can even visit places where everybody knows your name. And now, after seeing all the sights, you can stay at the newest Boston landmark, the Liberty Hotel, a name that was chosen for a reason.
Well, in some ways we're liberating it from its past. I mean, that is a big part of what we are telling the public is that yes, you know, there is some dark history here, but we've taken the space and instead of raising it, instead of letting it just fall apart, we're building a beautiful place where people are happy and they can spend their leisure time, they can explore Boston, all of that.
The past that Regan was referring to can be summed up by saying that past residents of this property may have checked in, but it wasn't always by choice. Once upon a time, the inhabitants were prisoners, and they were locked up in the Charles Street Jail.
You know, you walk through here sometimes and look around, and if the walls could only talk, there'd be some pretty good stories coming out of here. Some you'd want to hear, some you would not.
You know, who was here was Albert DeSalvo. He was the Boston Strangler. I guess he murdered a bunch of women by strangling them with their silk stockings. He was here for many years. I don't remember if he died here, but he was here for many years.
Over the years, as Boston began to grow, it no longer was practical to have a prison right in the middle of the city. And with views like this, it's no wonder why someone would want to come back here and redevelop it, even though it might be a little strange.
Maybe for some people it's going to kind of go across that line to weird, but I think for most people it's just going to be interesting. And then once you spend some time in this space, you don't really realize that it's a jail. It doesn't feel enclosed. It doesn't feel like you're being forced to be here. It's a dramatic structure. The lighting in and of itself, from the way the windows play into the space to the uplighting around the building to the chandeliers, is what we are using to create an impression on our guests. We want to have them wowed.
They've left some bars on the windows for effect in places like the conference rooms and the lobby bar.
They had the original bars from the jail. They took them out, they cleaned them up, and they put them all back in to make the place look original.
They've also removed some bars in other places, like in the guest rooms, but you can still see where they used to be. Keeping the site authentic and historic was a top priority, a priority the owners thought would be a challenging task, considering you're putting a state-of-the-art system into a 156-year-old building. But it was nothing an experienced NECA contractor and IBEW workforce couldn't handle.
It was an extremely challenging building. We had a lot of mechanical, electrical, and plumbing and fire protection that we had to channel through different areas of the existing jail. It was very challenging. And quite honestly, the union installers for the electrical company, E.G. Sawyer, were phenomenal.
What exactly did they solve?
We had a cost savings proposal on the job for to change all the conduit and copper feeders to aluminum with MC cable. MC cable is a multi-conductor cable which allows you to pull the cable from the point of origin, which would be the switchboard, to a sub-panel, okay, without installing conduit. So what you have a one-step process. You pull the cable in, you don't have to run the conduit first, and it avoids the step of piping and then pulling cable. So it's actually a labor saver also, which saved about 20% on the contract, probably about $160,000 worth of savings to the owner.
Throughout the entire building, every light, every switch, every cable channels back down to the basement and into here.
Well, this is our switchgear room. Brian Sullivan and myself, that was our responsibility when we first got here last July. This room was empty and we were told this is your home, and we had to mount this gear, bolt it all together, torque it down.
It's a 4,000 amp service, 480 volt service that feeds the building, the entire building. There are other electrical rooms that for life safety, but none of that is involved in this area here. This is the main power for the building. Each section is locked off and tagged off, so you don't have any stray currents going up or voltage going up through the building. These are all the feeders that go up through the building, feed the different floors. You know, to be here right from the neighborhood and to be able to work on this project, it was quite a pleasure. You know, to be able to stand back and say, I worked on it.
E.G. Sawyer and IBEW Local 103 were instrumental in taking this 19th century building and bringing it up to date, but they also prepared for the future as well.
Basically all the platforms, voice, data, video, were all on the internet. And one big pipe of Category 6 cabling brought that bandwidth to the room. At the desktop in the guest room, that was distributed or switched through a 3-COM Ethernet switch. Basically broke out those signals for those different applications. Well, it's the new and upcoming technology of the future, IP-based technology. It minimized the amount of cable we had to run, minimized the amount of LAN electronics that were required in the room. We're cutting down the costs, and we're future-proofing the facility.
Making sure the owner's needs were taken care of was something everyone hopped on board with, especially those in charge.
I was very in tune to realizing that what we've built here is a 4.5-star hotel, and you know, things had to be right. They envisioned this project to look a certain way, and you know, I kind of got right on board with that, how critical it was, and I could envision what this was going to look like in the end. And as you can see from walking around, it's a beautiful building. A lot of hard work went into it, a lot of planning, a lot of coordination issues that were worked out between the general contractor, the architect, and Suffolk Construction.
That attitude was felt by all, from the craftsmen.
This job has had the stock that we needed for the most part. You know, you need something, they get it for you. It's not, well, just use what you got. And there's a lot of good guys on this job that like to work as professionals.
To the contractor.
NECA and IBEW in this area is terrific. We have no problems. We get along very well with Mike Monahan, the business agent, and Glenn Kingsbury is terrific for NECA here in Boston. I can't have one complaint. I've been an electrical contractor for 44 years, and this is one of the best jobs I've ever been on.
To the owner.
We had a fantastic crew here, but especially kudos to John Trad. He was the foreman, the electrical foreman, and from day one he was very responsive and took all of our requests with a smile and executed them perfectly. So kudos to John.
The IBEW and NECA are obviously an important player in this project. I mean, every day there's clusters of people in hard hats meeting, figuring things out. What can happen next? When is it going to happen? How is it going to happen? It takes a lot of teamwork. It's a huge space, and it was really important that we nail this design and create that lasting impression for our guests. And the overall goal, which is let's open this hotel and have it be a magnificent property.
You know, here's the overall message we got from this project. The oldest electrical contractor in America, E.G. Sawyer, worked on one of the oldest buildings in America, the Charles Street Jail. The relationship between IBEW and NECA could not have been better. The owner got what they asked for, the completion of a complex that is on time and on budget. And that is really unlike any other hotel in Boston or probably anywhere else. I mean, Allison, what else is there?
Well, probably just to enjoy the results of that project and gear up for the next one.
Absolutely right.
Thanks, Ron. We appreciate it. Good story.
Even in its simplest form, we've been taught to respect the power of electricity. Why should it be any different today? And since the beginning, it's absolutely demanded the ultimate level of skill and craftsmanship to safely and effectively channel its awesome power. We were up to the challenge then, and we continue to set the standard today.
The IBEW NECA team